Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of Soul Led Living. We are getting to the end of the year, so I was like, let's do some 2025 predictions. This should be airing on December 24th, which is Christmas Eve. For those of you who celebrate, I will be celebrating Noche Buena tonight with my family, going to Florida. Excited to eat my mom's Cuban food. So I thought like today would be a great day to drop this episode filled with so much value. Honestly, I was a little nervous about kind of what information I would get and if I would be able to get, enough prediction for next year. But whoa, we got a lot and it's very detailed. And I just find it to be so helpful. So please bring your notebooks, share it with a friend, even your friends that are not very woo woo. Like, share this with friends that are kind of like high achievers or dreamers or like trying to make things happen, because I think even outside of like the spiritual community or those of us who are a little bit open to that and energy, I think you will find so much value in this. And that would be the most beautiful gift. If you want to give me an end of the year gift, it would be sharing today's episode. So we got 9 messages for 2025. Let's get into it. Message number 1. I was being asked to somehow, consolidate the whole year with one word. I could not pick one word because I picked a bunch of synonyms, because I feel like depending on where you are in the world, where you are in life, what your background is, you might need some synonyms, and we can't just like use just one word, but words that all kind of mean the same. And it's funny that they were asking me to give, that I was getting this message of like, okay, let's do one word, because it is actually an example of what we're going to see in 2025. So if I had to sum it down into some words would be Zen, thinning it down, simplicity, clear, efficient, organized. So we're really going to see the world on a big scale and on the smallest scale, from like the world all the way down to kind of how you're organizing your life. We're all going to be doing the same thing, which is going to be like thinning things out, creating simplicity, becoming more efficient, getting rid of things that we don't need, organizing, just really kind of slimming down to what is truly necessary. And not in a survival type of way. It's more just like, I want to be strong and efficient and potent, and I can't do it with all these like millions of things that I'm trying to do. These words are coming to guide us as to what we're going to see from this year, and also what we're all going to be pulled towards. So it is an organization and efficiency. But remember, I started with the word Zen. Like, just think about what you think about when you hear the word Zen. What do you feel? What comes to mind? That truly is the life. It's that Zen lifestyle is what we're going to see come forward. Because what's interesting is, although we're going to get strong and efficient and like slimmed out and organized, we're also going to see a huge wave of compassion and kindness, but from a very empowered place. Not the kindness that sometimes like is manipulative. This is more just like, I'm strong enough to be compassionate. I'm strong enough to be kind. That's where this comes from. So Zen, I thought, was like such a great word, because Zen to me, I don't really know what the full definition of Zen is. I'm sure it means something very specific. But when I think about Zen, I think about simplicity, but I also think about like strength in kindness. And that's really like the word. If I could give a word for next year, that would be the word. And here's why this is going to happen. And here's why this is important. This kind of thinning out and this, clearing out all the fat and all the excess is truly going to make your energy very impactful and very strong. And this is actually about power. It's almost like we're diluting our power in many ways when we are concerned with things that are not that important, when we are trying to prioritize 10 things when we really are just meant to only prioritize one thing. So this is really about being efficient. So this is the opposite of diluting our power, basically. We are no longer going to dilute the power so that we can be strong and very effective. So, and impactful, if that makes sense. So we're going to do that. We're going to see this on an individual level, but we're also going to see this as a collective and on bigger levels. And now, what does that mean? I'm sure if it hasn't already come to mind, but this came to mind as soon as I was getting this message, is layoffs, right? Like we're going to see companies lay off because we're going to see companies get efficient and really clean out some fat. And that is going to affect so many of us. It's going to affect us as individuals. It's going to affect our family members, our friends. Like we are going to see layoffs, but not from a place that the economy is doing bad and we have to do these layoffs, but more as in like, it's better to have a lean team that is like the top of the top, or that's strong, or whatever it is that whatever is necessary in order to move forward. So a purging, a letting go we're gonna feel that, but we're also gonna see that in our world. And for any of us that might be affected by layoffs, I was actually getting some information about this. So if you are affected by layoffs, or if somebody, and I actually don't see it just as layoffs, I see it as like, sorry guys, I haven't been incorporated for so long, but what is like the packages they give you to go? It's like almost like they give you a choice and they give you a package. I see a lot of that also. So it's really not coming from, oh my gosh, we're laying off because we don't have enough budget. It's coming from like, we're trying to, be more efficient. So there will be packages as well, almost like where you kind of don't have a choice, but you at least get like a nice package. We're going to see some of that. So if you are affected, or like a loved one is affected by layoffs, what I was getting is that right away, go into new education. It'll be very worth it to get new skills, because we are actually moving into a talent forward economy. So it's like, we are going to have to really understand what our talents and our gifts are, and like only stay there and be so protective of like not doing anything other than what our talents and gifts are. And they're going to look like skills, and some of them are going to look like things that, you know, we don't even have the skill for yet, but maybe we're interested in. So maybe it's like, oh, I think I'm kind of interested in like video editing, but I don't know how to do it, but I'm just like feeling called to it. And, you know, you take a class, you develop that skill, and you actually like you become really good at it. So it is one of your gifts. It's just, you know, it was a dormant gift until you followed that call to like really pursue it. So this is just like where we are moving, and this is going to be very important. I see a lot of like tech skills coming online, a lot of technical degrees. So like going to school for a technical degree as well, that's going to come forward. But tech skills, video editing, even like medical tech skills, just anything that is talent focused, gift focused, like skilled focused, that is going to be very helpful. And I don't mean that, you know, you're going to be doing this like one task forever and ever. It just feels like getting very good at one thing is actually what's going to make you be very valuable, and you'll never worry about your skill, you know, like about your safety or about your ability to survive, because it's going to come from being like very good at one thing and really being able to communicate that skill. My sense is also we will see people that do get laid off, but then go into like consulting for like one very specific skill. And it's the people that are going to be able to communicate it is what's going to help them kind of like make that move. But these layoffs don't seem scary to me. I feel like many of you know they are coming, and it feels like it's like an easy transition. But what's going to make it easier is moving into like that skill-based education, looking at what your gifts are, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't know how that came from the word of the year, but anyways, word of the year, and then it trickled me down to layoffs. But let's get into message number 2. This one was kind of funny. So, you know, have you ever heard that saying that like people are like, you know, sometimes I feel like we are in a reality show, like as a collective, and something is just like watching us and like laughing at us? There's a little like kind of truth to that, but not in like the Truman Show type way. It's not like there's like actual cameras on us, but there's a truth to that, because it's like most of us feel like there's something kind of pulling our strings sometimes, if that makes sense. And this year we're going to see that more than ever, but it's like almost the strings are going to show themselves. So it's like maybe accidentally we've been puppeted, And we're like, oh man, like I feel like something's happening, but we just didn't know. But now this year in 2025, we're gonna see the actual strings, if that makes sense. And like kind of when you're a kid and you're watching Sesame Street, but there's like people underneath it, like with their hands up the little, like furry guy's body, but you think, you're watching it and it's magic. You don't see the people that are acting as the Sesame Street characters. We're going to start to see the people acting as the Sesame Street characters, if that makes sense. So like that magic of, oh my gosh, how did this happen? It kind of goes away. And the way that that's going to show up is like, we are being advertised to all the time. And I don't mean like we're being sold, Kellogg's is selling to us, or, HBO is selling us stuff. It's not really from like a commerce place. It's bigger than that. I don't even know the words for it. It's almost like we're being sold to as a society and as a collective. Like we're being sold ideas, we're being sold like behaviors, we're being sold ways of thinking. And this year specifically, like we're so gonna see it because it almost looks like these advertisers, like think about these people that are advertising this to us, that again, it's not really directly about money because it's not like in exchange for a good. It's not a marketer. It's a like society marketer, if that makes sense, a collective marketer. And I'm sure, obviously it eventually trickles down to money, but what we're being sold is not really a good or a service. It's kind of a way of thinking or a way of seeing the world or a way of acting. And we are becoming savvier shoppers. So it's like you can't pull those tricks on us anymore, but we will see the advertisers try to pull the old tricks, which is so interesting to me. They've been pulling it forever, but we're going to be able to see it this time. So, if you've ever studied like marketing or psychology of sales or stuff, there's obviously things like sex sells or fear sells as well, right? But after a while, like the consumer even just gets like too smart to even like fall for that anymore. Like eventually we learn to like not fall for like sex selling to us as much as it used to before. We're like, oh yeah, I've seen these boobs before. Like you can't sell me something just because of this. So that's kind of what we're gonna see, but on a very bigger scale, and really more about kind of like how we see the world. And what this does, funny enough, is it actually brings us together. It's kind of like when your parents are being shady and then the kids get together and kind of go against the parents. So there's 4 kids and there's only 2 parents. And that kind of creates this like power and strength. So it's really interesting. I feel like I don't have the full words for it, but I'm trying to telepathically send my thoughts to you, and I'm hoping that you're picking it up. So yeah, I think this is not anything for us to do. It's just going to kind of be like interesting and fun to watch. Look out for the strings, and you're going to bond with your neighbor, believe it or not, because of this. Message number 3. The team creates the dream. Totally. Like, we're going to see some synchronized teams working towards a common goal. There is so much teamwork. I'm full with goosebumps right now. The times of working on your own, the times of like competing against, others or whatever, those times are over. I would imagine that this is because we are moving into the Aquarius era. But I kept getting this vision of people like a team rowing, right? And if you've ever seen like a rowing team, it's amazing how synchronized they are, right? Like it's like they're moving at the exact, like their bodies, and there's so many of them on that boat. And I was like, why am I seeing this? I'm like, oh, like this synchronized team towards a common goal. And it felt very athletic to me. And what that means to me is like I almost feel like we are going to be very inspired by sports. We're going to be very inspired by really great teams, by really great athletes, and by amazing coaches. There's going to be like a spotlight on like the coaches of amazing teams or athletes, because they have wisdom right now that we really need. Because America is going to have, America's back. So it's going to have a big year. We're not going to see it in 2025 so much. It's going to kind of show itself in 2026, 2027, but it's getting ready. It's almost like the Olympics is in 2027, and like America's going to start training now in 2025, and there's these teams that are going to start to come together or are already together, but they need to get very synchronized and very strong. And a lot of that wisdom is going to come from athletes and from like the sports world. So we're going to see, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some like documentaries on really amazing sports coaches or things like that. So I think this is going to be cool to watch. We're going to see this just in our world, but I think it's a super interesting thought for our own world. So I think about this even just as a mom. Like, how can I synchronize my family so that we can all work towards a common goal? What is that common goal? How can we make really strong athletes like in this family? So I think about that with my family. I think about that with my team, right? Like maybe there are, I know, not maybe, there are definitely people missing that are not on my team yet, that like I need to make a team with for my business, right? So you're going to be gathering people together for a joint vision, and it's not going to be only your vision. It's almost like, fine, yeah, this is my business and I have a vision for like sharing this message. And it would seem weird, like Sophie, who is the head of my content, like why would she want to be part of my team? But in a weird way, I'm also part of her team, because it's like she has a vision and a mission for what she wants in her life. And she's actually the leader of her team, and I am the member of her team. And then, but then I'm also the leader of my vision, and she's also the member of my vision, if that makes sense. So, but it's because it's completely a joint vision, and that's why we are all teammates. So we're going to see that a lot, and we're going to see teams get strong and really seek out wisdom. So if you have any kind of athlete wisdom or sports team like wisdom, I'd make some content because it's going to work. Message number 4, America nostalgia, guys. It's coming. I don't know. It's coming. I see it very much for the US. I wonder how it's going to kind of have like a ripple effect in the rest of the world. But there's like this trend, and it's going to be kind of like almost like a fashion trend. It's going to be even like an interiors trend as well. And it's America nostalgia. Now, it's not Western. I think that the fashion industry was getting it wrong, because I know like the last year they were kind of predicting like a Western revisit, and definitely some of that was happening, but that's not really it. It's America nostalgia. And I was getting more like, what I was seeing? What's that famous poster, We Can Do It, with like the woman and like her muscle or whatever? It's whatever that era is, guys. It was very Captain America vibes. I forget what era. What is that? Is that 50s? I have no idea. But anyways, it's a very wholesome, We Can Do It, very quality. It's values, and it's around values and quality. So actually this quality, we're going to see this in our goods, like the things that we actually sell, the things that we make. Think about like furniture that actually last. There's going to be a big focus, and probably even some messaging and promotions around this. There's just going to be like this trend on like, I don't want to get a new couch every 3 weeks. Like I would love a couch that can last 20 years. I don't want to buy a desk that's going to fall apart. Like I actually want a desk that I can pass on to the next generation. And things are going to be pressured to be made that way. And that's a very like American value, it looks like. I'm first generation American, so I don't know too much about American values, but this like feels like it's a lasting and kind of like good quality. We're gonna see that. And just there's something in like clothing. I can't fully pick it up, but there's a look. There's like an aesthetic that's coming, and I'm gonna call it America nostalgia is kind of the vibes that I'm getting. So this is going to be fun. I think also there's going to be an emphasis on like remodeling, fixing, updating, renovating. It reminds me so much of my husband, who loves to get like pieces that have fallen apart and like restoring them basically. So there's going to be an emphasis on restoring. If you are in the DIY space and you make content, I would definitely go into like restoration, because this looks like this is going to do very well. And values. I think there's also going to be a return to I don't want to call them morals, because morals is like what is good and what is wrong. This is really like values, like kind of what do Americans, what is an American value? Like, what do we stand for? What don't we stand for? We're going to see a lot of that as well. Message number 5. So we've seen this for a little bit, but we're going to see it in a much bigger way. And what it's going to look like is a ton of compassion towards mental health issues. And what it's going to look like is, you know how when a new superfood comes on the market and it becomes like this cure-all, it's like, oh my gosh, ginger or turmeric, like it is the solution to everything. We're actually going to see mental health be seen as that. Like the new superfood is going to be this look at mental health, but it's going to come from a very compassionate place, where before it was almost like, we know this is a problem, we know this is a problem, we know this is a problem. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, we all suffer from this. Like, let's have compassion toward it. Like, it's going to be like less advocacy and just truly like coming from a place of love. And it is going to be kind of a cure-all, or it's going to be used as a solution for a lot of problems in society. So like coming to mind is like gun control or suicide, like there's just a lot of problems in society, and the cure-all is going to be mental health. Like it's going to be we're just going to kind of agree that this is like if there's one angle to take, like maybe we can come from this angle and really attack it. And yeah, this is actually like this is the gift, I have goosebumps, of Gen Z. So now we could say like, oh yeah, Gen Z has more mental health issues because they grew up with social media, but it's not really that. This is like every generation brings something, where like I think millennials brought like, really a lot of things about work and, purpose and culture and all these kind of things. Gen Z brings mental health to the table. So they might be showing like they're a problem, or that they have this problem, but it's not that they have this problem. It's just that they bring to light a problem that has always existed. So they are like the bearer of this news, if that makes sense. So that's really what they bring to the world. We may even see solutions from them, but in collaboration with like older, wiser kind of people as well. So we're probably going to see them partner up. The solution comes from a little bit of science, a little bit of like brain kind of meditation stuff as well. There's a lot going on, but meditation is going to be big. So if any of you do meditation, I think it's a great time to see if you can find any sort of like connection or science behind your meditation with mental health, because that like could be like a business idea as well. But yeah, we're just not going to argue about it anymore, where before it was like almost like an argument or like an activism, or coming with like a lot of anger. And it's just going to be a ton of compassion. It feels like it's on a big scale, but again, and that's a theme for this year as well. We're going to see things that are on a big scale, but then also come down to like the smallest scale, which is like compassion in your family, compassion for your mother's mental health. Like maybe we blamed our parents for everything, and then finally you're like, oh, well, there's like a mental health issue here, or compassion for your children's mental health, that kind of stuff, your partners. This is where we're going to see the most compassion come from here. And this is actually going to be it's also one of the things that becomes kind of like bipartisan, which is really beautiful. Like both sides are going to be able to like claim it, if that makes sense. And this is part of kind of what brings some unity amongst political division as well. So because it does look like it's not that it's politicized, but that it is it's a civil problem. Like it does fall into the category of politics, because it is like falls into the category of health. Funny is that I think, especially in the US, as we go into health, we're thinking about food, we're thinking about like vaccines and stuff, like because of RFK coming in. But what's really funny is that this is going to really transition and kind of all point to the brain. So we're just going to see a lot of brain stuff instead. It's going to be a little bit of a twist in the story, basically. Message number 6. this is kind of random and this is not going to be for everybody, but I guess maybe because my community is more creative, this is why this is coming forward. Guys, you want to watch the creator slash entertainer industry. If you are in entertainment, I have a lot of good friends. I come from like my first few jobs in my career were in LA in the film industry. So I have friends in this space. And I feel like the film and like kind of Hollywood has almost felt like they've been like in a storm for many years and they're almost like, trying to hold on for dear life and thinking that like, okay, this storm will pass. And dude, the storm has not passed, you guys. This industry it's just every year is like being more and more rocked. Like, I think there's this thought that like somehow Hollywood will come back on its feet, but it's just not. It's really, it is so strong. It's like a very sturdy tree that's like, I could take a lot and like keep bringing me the storms, but it's not that it's going to fall down. The tree doesn't fall down. The tree just weakens to the point that it becomes unimportant. I know, isn't that's very dramatic, but that's really the way that I see it. And the reason I share this is because creators, there's this just space for creators, and these creators are just changing this landscape in such a big way. And it's such a big industry. It's been a hard industry to knock down, but we're going to see a significant like knockdown this in 2025 and probably continue. And this is a very specific prediction, and I was like, should I even say this? But I'm going to put this out here, guys, because I'm okay if it's wrong. Like, I'm totally okay it's wrong, but because it's very specific. But I'm getting that YouTube, or something like YouTube, could be Netflix as well, I'm not sure, is going to release some sort of update that just changes the game. It feels like something, whether it's like a YouTube or a Netflix, what it's going to do is somehow give the capability for certain creators to have like their own media company. I don't know if it's going to be available to everybody, like almost like how self-publishing is available to everybody. I'm not sure if it's like that. It might be like specific creators, but it almost looks like creators are going to become media companies. Like think about back in the day where there was like an NBC channel or an ABC channel. We're going to see creators, but there's a technology that comes forward that allows this to happen. And it feels like it's somehow integrating with something that we are already using. That's why I'm like, is it Netflix? Is it YouTube? I don't know. But if you work at one of those companies, like hire me because I want to like predict it because I can see it. So we're going to see that. And if you're in the creator space and this is interesting to you or you're in entertainment, my advice or what I would bet on is that creators that have a format are the ones that are going to be able to take advantage of this. So it makes me feel like I'm a creator and I have this very specific format. I always do vlogs. I always do reviews. I always do like, it's this format, this like kind of shift is going to work for people that have, just think about like a TV show. Like it makes me think about, what are those home renovating shows or like, I don't know, the Property Brothers? I've never even seen that show, but that's what's coming. Like those HGTV shows, or even think about a reality show, but more so the HGTV where there is like a very strict format. It's like we find the home, it's destroyed, we're finding the person that's going to live there, we talk about the design, we're going to destroy it, something bad happens, we fix it, and voila, like a reveal. And it's the same format every single episode. That's what looks like is going to work in this new setup. So keep an eye out for it. If you're in entertainment, if you're in Hollywood, I would recommend moving towards creators, like start networking with creators, especially if you have that background from Hollywood. You would be a great asset for some of these creators that are just, they're going to get like a lot of eyeballs and like not really fully be ready for it. So move into that. If you're an editor or something, I would move more into these like creators that have a lot of talent because we're going to see this. Hollywood is just, it's too slow. And what we're going to see in this new world basically is, and again, we talked about like simplicity, thinning down, all that stuff. It's just, people being able to do more with less. So anything that is too clunky, that's too overfed, like a Hollywood, it's just not going to survive in this new world. This is like the world of like the lean sprinter, basically, or not sprinter, maybe marathon runner. So, so yeah, I thought that was interesting. I'm interested to see what you guys are getting from that prediction that I'm sharing. Message number 7. There will be a balance of the masculine and the feminine, and this makes me want to just breathe. Like I feel like I can finally breathe, because it does look like those forces have been fighting for quite some time. The divine feminine has like been fighting with the masculine, and now the masculine is becoming the divine masculine. So now it's like the divine feminine and the divine masculine are meeting, where it was like the toxic and the divine feminine was rising before the masculine, and now, but it's like this beautiful just coming together. And it's not going to be perfect, but it's like there's a respect for each other that's coming online. There might not be like love and passion yet, where it's like we love each other, but there is a respect that's coming online, and that is what's been missing, because it's almost like the feminine was rising before the masculine, but the feminine like lost respect for the masculine. And then that caused the masculine to like revolt, basically. So now we're starting to see that like the way they are, the final phase of these energies balancing come from respect. They also come from acceptance of our differences. We are not the same. Like if I carry majority feminine and somebody else carries majority masculine, like we are different, and there are just things that we need to accept about each other. So I actually see a lot of harmony coming to certain relationships, certain marriages, and a lot of this is going to come from acceptance over perfectionism. This is how the masculine and the feminine start to like find harmony. We are not looking for perfectionism. I'm going to accept some of the things that are just true to who you are. I'm accepting that, and then we can like move forward and find peace and harmony. So this is really beautiful. Another message here is that people will be embracing their more natural energy, their more natural essence. So it's like maybe I've been a female and I've been in a lot of masculine energy because I've been working corporate, or I've been following a very linear track because that's like girl bossing it, and that's what I was trained to do. But now I'm like really realizing that I need to be in the feminine, and I'm going to embrace that energy, and like the masculine also learning to embrace whatever is like the divine masculine. So there's an embracing of these energies as well, which are really exciting, and there's just some sort of harmony. So if you've been struggling, let's say in your marriage for a while, and it has something to do with these energies, we may see a lot of peace come through here. But if we can get to acceptance over perfectionism. Message number 8. This is such a weird message. I don't even know how to say this, but let's try. There's going to be a return to God. So there's going to be an emphasis on God, almost like not being shy about it, or kind of just not being mad at God anymore or something like that. There's some sort of like coming back to God that's happening, but it is somehow, you guys, connected to aliens. Don't ask me how, but what I was getting was almost like, if you ever study those like ancient civilizations, or even, even if we look at our Native Americans and things like that, it's like their connection to God had a lot to do with like looking up to the sky and knowing that there is more. And even, a lot of these cultures say they were visited by aliens that they saw as gods. But there's something spiritual about that concept. Whether, I don't know if we're going to have contact. I have no idea. I feel like we keep talking about it and it doesn't happen. But there is some sort of connection that like our spirituality ultimately leads us to this awareness that we are not alone. And almost like that awareness is the only thing that we're missing from having contact. So it's like it's almost like it's already here. We just can't see it because we are not attuned to like a higher frequency of consciousness. and it's a God consciousness. It's actually like our spiritual connection that then allows us to see. And I don't know what that means. That I think about myself like that, almost like, I can see a lot. I have the gift of seeing, spiritually, seeing energy, but because I am able to go up into like these higher realms. So maybe it's something like that we're all kind of like rising and like, taking on more of a spiritual seeing. And that is how we ultimately together can see more. You know how it is like, this is a really bad example, but I remember I used to work at a bar. When I first moved from LA back to Miami, I was, working in PR, but getting paid really shitty. I remember getting paid like $500 a week to do this job that I was doing. And that money was never going to get me out of living with my parents. Like I moved from LA back to Miami and I had to live with my parents, and I wanted to go live in like Brickell, in a high rise building, but I didn't have enough money. And my PR job like was not giving me enough money. So I took on this job as a bartender. I was a horrible bartender, guys, but I served beer and wine. I couldn't even open a wine bottle. That's how bad I was, or change a tap on a keg. So the poor people that work with me were like, what is this girl doing here? I was nice to the customers and I could smile, and that was about it. But anyways, I'm at this job, and cute old me, never did drugs or anything like that, but I would work till 6 a.m, and I had no idea that people were on drugs. Like I had no idea that like after 2 o'clock, if they were at the bar, they're on something. But I did not know, because literally I would do that whole shift from like 7 o'clock at night till 6 a.m, drinking vitamin water. I'm not even kidding. And I had like these little like Frappuccino coffees. That's kind of like what kept me going for those long shifts. And I guess just being in your 20s. One day I'm hanging out with this new guy and I'm introduced to cocaine. And I'm like, oh my God. Everybody has been doing cocaine around me my whole life, and I had no idea. And then all of a sudden that job as a bartender started making all this sense, because I was like, oh my God, like the bathroom is set up in a way where it's like perfect to do a line of coke, or like this person, when they were acting this way, they were definitely on coke, or like all these things that I just did not know because I didn't have like the awareness for it. Like it wasn't in my radar. Does that make sense? But it's always been there anyways. I was literally swimming in it. So weird analogy, guys, but just trying to be real with you. But that's kind of what I see with this God/alien thing happening. It's like it's always been here, but we've been so innocent to it that we haven't seen it. And somehow there's like an awakening that is like slowly happening. I'm not sure. I don't think it's gonna, end its awakening at the end of this year or anything like that, but we're in it. It's happening. And some of us are going to start to see, like some of us are going to be able to see it and be more aware. And it looks like it comes from a spiritual connection that then allows us to see this alien, or whatever we call aliens, or whatever we think is aliens, is going to come forward or be more in our radar, or we're going to be able to actually know that it's happening and start to realize that it's always been there. But it comes from a God connection. So, might be finally a good time for Christianity, because man, I always think about the Catholic Church like they're struggling. But yeah, I don't think it's not gonna be religious. It's just gonna be more about God. Last but not least, message number 9, and this is a fun one. Money is going to be distributed. And I don't think it's gonna happen all in one year, but this is so interesting to me. There's something happening that the little man can now take from the big man. So it makes me feel like people that are holding big pots. So maybe it's like I have this really, I have Amazon. It's a super huge business, and it's a big pot. Something, and maybe it's AI, is going to, actually not maybe, I know it is AI, is going to allow the little man to put his hand in that pot in a way that has not been possible before. This is going to hugely freak out these people. And I think that's also why there's been fear around AI, because like these people kind of know, these big pot people know that this is going to happen, or that this is a possibility. But it's really going to be fun to watch. And what's interesting is that we, the little people, are very kind and compassionate people, and we're almost gonna like show these big pot people like how to live, like how to share, and like and we're gonna like embrace them with a lot of love and be like, here, come to our come to our like little sweet place and like learn to share. So this also for some reason is connected to an emphasis of like building things to last and just being a little bit better with our resources. So like if I have a big home, to not think that I'm going to be able to like knock down that home every couple of years and remodel it, that I'm just going to really take care of that home. And this is going to be like most important for people with big pots or with like maybe old wealth, things like that. So there's just, it's going to get distributed, and not in a communist kind of way. As a Cuban immigrant, I'm always like communism, but it's not like that. It's a forced distribution. It is like all of a sudden these big pots, there are doors to be able to grab something from there, and it's not stealing, it's basically opportunity is what it looks like. It's access. It's kind of like saying, back in the just a few years ago, people could only write books or get books published if they knew somebody, if they could get an agent or whatever. But now it's like anybody can write a publishing deals, anybody can self-publish. And that industry is like completely up for grabs, right? So it's like, if I want to make money writing books, I could, if I just need to figure that out. There's no middleman. So all of a sudden, like me, the little guy, can put my hand in a bigger pot that has always existed. So we're going to see that in a big way. And it's going to be a little bit unsettling for some of these big people. We might be getting some like propaganda or some scare tactics, but it's only because we're like putting our little hands in their honey jar. So yeah, it's going to be fun to see. And yeah, just a great way to end this episode. I love you guys so much. I hope this episode was helpful and fun. I had a ton of fun making it. Please reach out to me. Let me know like what you took from it, because this is like meant to be fun, and we'll see what actually like fully lands and how you are seeing these predictions. I can't wait to hear it. I hope you have a beautiful holiday. If you celebrate Christmas, or if you're just, taking time off, I send you a ton of love, and I will see you in the next episode.